And to make sure the sizzle reel played.
Gotta get that sizzle reel.
Gotta get it going. Don't wait. I gotta hype you. Don't blow it up. We're back with another episode. But first, sponsors. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. Go check out a complete list of the sponsors there. I want to thank a few of them now. Advanced Warrior Solutions.
There we go.
Yeah. Go check them out, guys. Go check out their bags. Right On Optics, Kenzie's Optics, Galco, leather holsters, Rhino Metals for all the tables, everything. Guys, appreciate them. Gallo Technologies, CAA Gear Up USA, Pulsar, thermal imaging technologies coming down in price, Blackwater Ammunition. Got a special guest today in between Cadbury eggs. I'm going to try to introduce him. These are delicious, by the way. If you can still get access to Cadbury eggs, minis, buy them. Works on crack. We got the one and only Joe Farewell.
What's going on, man? It's good to be back.
We're good to be back. What's new with you?
Just living the dream, brother. It's been out here shooting and traveling and having a lot of fun with it. So good to be here in Vegas with you. Last minute little throw together, but glad we can make it happen.
No, we were planning this for like 2 weeks. It actually took a minute to get it squared away, but I'm glad we did. So, listen, I want to ask you, in between bites of these fucking Cadbury eggs.
You're just crunching away.
Bro, these are amazing. I want to ask you, shooting, ammo, where are we? Give me the update as you see it.
So as I see it, I mean, ammo's been such a weird thing this past year and a half with between COVID and riots and just, you know, an election year on top of everything. Ammo's been crazy, and I've been fortunate enough to have the relationships in the industry to maintain my company, right? Because ammo is the lifeblood of my training. But
sorry, I'm dying.
You dying over here? Good God.
Keep going. I'm listening. Go ahead.
So I think right now, obviously, we had a huge spike in demand. Prices went through the roof. You couldn't find ammo. I see it starting to come back a little bit, but it's still going to be another good year before you see any sort of consistency, I think.
Because that's what's going to kill the student base, right? Because the cost. It's hard.
It has. It's been difficult. You're seeing matches going out because they can't. You know, people aren't wanting to spend, $300 on a match fee, but then you've got $1,000 in ammo. That was my weekend last weekend shooting Missouri. It was just you start to don't do the math. That is the bottom line. Is if you're gonna go shoot, don't do the math because it's just gonna hurt.
It's disgusting.
So I've been fortunate to get. I've got plenty of ammo for me, and I've got plenty of ammo for my students. I'm just not selling it to the public.
Do you want to comment on whether or not the ammo situation is hot shit like I think it is, or do you? How do you see it?
So I've heard a couple of different theories because
this is great.
There's people that think that it's all just supply and demand, and like there's just so many people buying ammo. But then there's a lot of thoughts out there about who's controlling the supply and
preach.
I think,
I'm enjoying
I think
this.
there's a couple of large organizations that are controlling.
No.
I know you would never think of it in the shooting industry that people would be out to make a profit and in spite of everyone else. But no, I think there's a lot to that. I've heard some things that I don't really want to talk about.
Joe, this is why I think we're gonna fail. You know that. Yeah. I think we're gonna fail.
We talked about this last time. Yep.
But go ahead. Say what you don't want to say.
No, it's just there's people that are out to make a profit and try to monopolize the entire industry. And I think that's where you're going to have a hard time. There's contracts that are being signed to lock people into a certain price point that are
mischievous at best.
Yes, exactly. So we'll see what happens. I think it's all going to come out in the next 6 months or so, where you're going to see a lot of things happening, a lot of boats rocking or sinking, and it's going to be interesting.
I mean, like I said, we all know what happened, and in my opinion, I think it's going to take companies, people to start to speak up on topics, whether it's ammo, whether it's other things. That's why I started the podcast. It's one of those like forums that's like obnoxiously real.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like we're just putting it out there and we're just saying this is the way we see a situation. No one is going to accuse me of being Barbara Walters. No one's going to accuse me of like asking. This is stuff that's on the tip of people's tongues. They want to share it. They want to talk about it. The ammo thing is one of those things. And to anyone out there that thinks it's because of hunters or thinks it's because of preppers, they're out of their fucking mind and they should get their head checked. But I think that is a sign of this industry. And it's a sign of how childish it can be. And we did talk about this before, but it's still going on. It's still systemic. It still bleeds into areas like ammunition or this or that, whatever. And I do think conglomerates are something to fear. And we're witnessing there's only, 3 major ammo providers in the United States? 4? I mean, that I know of.
Well, now all of the primers that all the smaller manufacturers we're getting that were made in the USA, those are non-existent anymore. Every primer that's coming to these smaller manufacturers are being shipped in.
I made it no secret, Joe, and I want to tell you what I want. I would love to have the federal CEO in here, and I would say, please tell me how many primers did you OEM in the first quarter of 2019 versus 2020 versus 2021? Mm-hmm. And that's fine. It's his prerogative to have a runway to produce as much ammunition as he can. Nobody's faulting him for that.
Right.
But just know that you choked the supply.
Yep.
And stop doing videos where you're patting yourself on the back and saying, we're really ramping up the production here. We're really doing all we can. You're doing all you can so you can control the profit and you can control what's made. That's your prerogative. Nobody's accusing him of fault in doing that, but you're not the angel at the same time. And a lot of middle players, as you know, are getting squeezed off. There's just not a lot of, like you said, primers, nail on the head.
Yep.
And it's not about...
They're starting to trickle out now, which is interesting to me, but you're seeing them pop up on Brownells, you're seeing them pop up on No Way. Yeah. So they're trickling out to the end user, your reloaders and stuff like that. However, the manufacturers that are needing the primers are still not getting them. And now you're seeing companies, Federal's a great example of it, which I love Federal products. They're a great company.
Wow, you're such a company guy.
They make great stuff. I've shot their ammo for years. However, what I saw in 2020 was they stopped shipping stuff to distributors, and now they're shipping directly to customers, and they mark the prices up appropriately to match their MSRP.
Oh my God!
And so I would love just to know what their
I'm stunned, Joe. I'm stunned.
I mean, it's good business.
Do you know how many gun companies there are out there right now that are only listing their guns on GunBroker?
Yeah.
I'm not even going to get into the who, but people can figure it out.
Yep, absolutely. Because you're making a much bigger profit that way.
Is that right? Is the $1 million question. I'm no one to judge.
I mean, from a business perspective, absolutely. Make the money where you can. However, it's still, for me, it's relationships, right? I live off of relationships. And I think the people who still appreciate that idea of thinking, that everything is based off of relationships, those are the ones you see last.
Like, I always say, be a scumbag. But if you're going to be a scumbag and then try to tell me you're a good guy, I got an issue with that. At least be straight up. Like, I have no problem, saying I'm difficult to deal with. That's just the way. But in all honesty, like the White Knight videos, we're really getting the production going, and we're gonna get this right. We're gonna fix it. I can't believe it's gonna. Listen, these guys need ammunition, and they need ammunition to do their fucking job.
Yeah.
And they need ammunition to be able to train people. And when you're making the popcorn in the movie theater more expensive than the movie, it's a lot harder to do your work. And that's the bottom line.
And what you see is a huge trickle-down effect, too, because, for me, I've had classes that have because of it until I was able to build up my supply. But some of the bigger ones, like I had a contract with a very large law enforcement agency that I was coming in to train all their instructors, and they couldn't justify the ammo expenditure for a 3-day train-up because they had two massive
yeah, because you need a piece of paper and you need a board of chiefs and you need a town meeting.
They had the ammo on back order. They couldn't even get the ammo. And this is a huge agency that you would never expect that to be an issue for them. But they're like, yeah, we're gonna have to cancel the train. I'm like, I'll do it dry fire. I'll do it. I'll cut. But that impacted me significantly on the financial side because we couldn't do that training.
Here's my thing. I want you to remember. I want the instructors to remember. And when the wheel spins round, karma is a son of a bitch. I want them to remember. The ammo companies that were there, the people that went the extra mile to make sure you had it.
Oh, 100%.
All that stuff. Because I think, let's just say this. Nothing was done that I feel is wrong. And I think you're in the same boat. But I think it wasn't done above board.
Right. So I want to throw a quick little thank you out a little plug to a friend of mine, and I have no business relationship with this company, but Super Valley Ammunition. They're based out of here in Vegas, competitive shooters, and they've not marked up their ammo. Not only have they not marked up their ammo, now granted they're not like selling a lot because they haven't had the primers, but they did a bring your own primer program. That basically, if you had primers, you could ship it to them. They would load it for you, make good ammo, and ship it back at like 16 cents a round, which was their pre-COVID prices and stuff. And they're one of those companies that they took a massive comparable loss to what they could have made in an effort to do it above board and support the shooting industry as a whole. And like I said, I don't shoot for them. I don't, other than them being a friend of mine. But that is the type of attitude that I want to support, regardless.
I'm waiting for SIG to get heavier in the ammo game. When they do, Tom's gonna shove it up everybody's ass. He's gonna come out with fucking $9.99 50-round boxes and stick it up everybody's ass, because in the end, this was all about internal wrangling amongst the companies.
Yep.
And nobody wanted to see SIG strong with the Remington capacity, the ability to produce ammo, because they knew exactly what he was going to do. Because once you have those types of contracts, it's not going to be hard to plug in your ammo.
Right. I mean, it was a huge supply and demand thing, because you had the massive influx of gun owners.
In the beginning, I agree with that. Yeah, the first 60 days.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's even longer than that, because you're still seeing it, and you're still seeing people buy as much ammo as they can.
The thing is, I'm just not convinced that no one's going to sell me that the sole reason, that's where people lose me out there having the argument. That's not the sole reason. Trust me.
No.
It's not the sole reason. Part of it was Remington not producing, but it was the byproduct of that bid and that situation and that whole thing. But anyway, I mean, look, don't get me off on a tangent about the ammo thing. That's how people lose jobs. I could go down that road. But here's the thing. You guys need it. The instructors need the ammunition. And that's the plea I have to the ammo companies, is these guys need to work. Now, there's a lot of legislation, a lot of bills, and I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole of talking about every single one of them. But I think we're, like I talked about before, I think we're in real danger, and I think we're in real trouble. We're going to be limping into midterm elections in hopes that we make it through this. You talking to anybody about any of this? Or are you up on it? I mean, how do your students feel? Are people scared they're going to lose their rights?
Absolutely. And I mean, there's a lot of different aspects to that, as far as who's supporting what, and making sure, right now we have the ATF looking at how they're even calling a firearm. What do they call a firearm or a receiver? And that's up there on the website right now that you need to go up there and talk to them about. There's so many different bills that are being pushed through, and people are scared. You gotta support the companies that are actually out there doing work. The match I was at last week in Missouri was called the DC Project Team Match, and the DC Project is
that's Dyes, right?
Yeah, Diane Muller. That's a small organization, but they are sending women to DC.
Best people to send. Yep,
they're sending women to DC to have these conversations, and they're getting into congressional offices that most people wouldn't be able to get into, and having the conversations and opening eyes. So projects like that, organizations like that are crucial to support. If you can support it physically, that's awesome, but at least financially.
$5.
I mean,
$10.
When you actually look at what they do and how they use the money, that's the crucial thing.
The problem has always been, in my opinion, Joe, is people don't know what they're talking about. There's a big disconnect between, and in our industry, the problem we have is we have a sect that wants to correct, right? Always, whether it's in the instructor world or in the talking head pundit world, street team, whatever you want to call it, turning point, whatever it is. There's always that group that wants to no, it stands for Armalite rifle. It's this. They want to be combative.
Right.
And they want to have that discord. And then there's the groups like Di's project, what she's doing, that whole DC project thing. And Di does a fabulous job curating the right people to get in front of these people, to organize it. But that's always the disconnect between our industry and the universe, is first the education of what is what.
It's got to be education. And I see a lot of, I've kept my social media very politically neutral as I can, as far as being in the firearms industry, because I don't go down the rabbit hole.
And you're not a political guy.
I'm not. And I have my political beliefs, I have my religious beliefs, but I don't, and I believe that you should have those and stand firm in those. However, I also have conversations with everybody, both sides of the aisle. And as soon as you start marking yourself as this is who I am, and I don't want to talk to anybody who's not in here, then that creates problems, because you lose the ability to have a conversation, to have that education. So I have people from, that are on the far liberal side to the far conservative side, and have the conversations. And I think that's crucial as far as, like you said, the education,
opening the dialogue,
just yelling at people.
Yeah, and I think you have to have those conversations, because what you have now is very interesting. You have, just like you have a lot of pro-choice Republicans, okay? There's people in the right, whether you agree with it or not. Mm-hmm. That's a dividing point. There are people that are like, well, there's instances, there's circumstances. You have pro-choice Republicans. You have a lot of gun-owning liberals now.
Yes, you do.
You have a lot of Democrat gun owners. And they exist. They are out there. I promise you. And that's a majority of the new gun owners.
Well, and here's what I see as a whole, like big numbers looking at it, right? Most people buy guns out of fear, because they either had something happen to them, they're afraid this is going to happen to them, they're afraid the guns are going to disappear, so they want to get theirs now. So you see a lot of Democrats or left-leaning Republicans, whatever the case may be, that are buying guns out of fear, and then the gun itself is a tool of fear. And it's scary because they don't understand it. And so one of my goals with that is to bring that type of person into an understanding of, hey, this can actually be, number one, it can be enjoyable. Like, bring joy back into it. Number two, there's a lot of other purposes that you can use this gun for that aren't just like scary. Like the guy coming into the house in the middle of the night. Now, yes, should you know how to use it for that purpose? Absolutely. But there's a lot of other fun things that you can do. And if you can remove the fear aspect from it.
Never happen.
What's that?
They get off too much on marketing fear.
Well, the marketing, yes.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I'm just talking about, if you can take somebody, when I do a beginner's course and I bring somebody in that's scared of their gun because they had a bad situation, had road rage where somebody pulled a gun on them, and now they're trying to learn how to use it and they're scared of it, and I can bring them and shoot a dueling tree or a Texas Star or something, and they start to have fun with it. Well, that completely changes the outlook on guns in general and how they're used, and it brings joy back into the factor, and just allows them to take control and take power over that's something that they were afraid of before.
Right, and I agree with you at the end user level. At the marketing level, the problem is the hook they use is that fear hook.
Yep.
With people, and they have almost like a Bronx Tale Sonny approach to how they market. It's like, we want the fear because it lasts longer. It's like
it is the best selling point you can use.
And I struggle with it because, to me, they get lazy with their marketing, and they get lazy with positioning, getting good. It all boils down to the end game. Bad guy comes in, you have a CCW, you can protect yourself. I would love to see them highlight more of the training, the importance of the training, the importance of seeking out guys like yourself. And that in turn will have a trickle down, but we place the wrong values on the wrong things all the time in this business.
Well, and there's a taboo around that too, especially for the Democrat gun owners who don't want to, they're closet gun owners, right? There's a lot of closet gun owners that, like, I don't want anybody to know that I have a gun. So one of the things that I've been working on now, I did a program for the 3-gun dry fire side that's mainly competitive, but multi-gun, multi-platform dry fire training, and that's all online. But I'm working on a program now that's going to be for those closet gun owners who they need the training too, but they're not ready to step out and freaking come to a class.
But doesn't it all boil down to, Joe? It's going to streaming, and that's what I talk about all the time. Like with the NRA. Why can't they get off their ass and just get a Joe Farewell to be like, hey, we want to make you the face of these segments or whatever? Not to say that you would do it. I'm picking on you because you're here.
Because we've talked about the NRA before.
Yeah, it's less lucrative. But it's like, that's where I'm talking more about streaming. That's where it's all going. Why can't some of these companies, these larger entities that are supposed to be our chaperones through this journey, why can't they get that?
Well, I don't know. It's because, like we talked about before, is the gun industry is like 10 years behind everything. It's 15 years behind everything now. You're starting to see a few more of those come through with, Big Daddy Unlimited. They're doing a lot more content. Warrior Poet Society, they're doing the streaming thing, which lots of different shows there. So there's a lot.
By the way, if you haven't signed up yet, now's a great time for the WPSN. Go check them out. Keep going.
So shameless plug. But no, like, there are more companies that are picking up on that, and I think you're going to see a massive influx of that as instructors, as companies start to realize that, hey, this is where it needs to be.
I think the influx is there, Joe. My issue is like, take this forum that I built. Am I really that smart that I'm the only guy that's done this?
No, you're not that smart, John.
I'm not that smart. I'm glad you said it because I agree with you. I'm like, am I, and it's scary. It's even scarier to me when I have great folks on, great clips. I'm not talking about just Dana or just any of these great people that I've had on. And they're sitting in front of gun walls. They're talking about being pro-gun. It bothers me on a certain level that you can't get, whether it's the NRA or NSSF, to take a step back and say, hey, we should probably get a clip or two from this guy. He's had a great guest. Did you see his episode with Joe Farewell? We should have this guy teaching. You're the face of what should be on those instructionals. But it's like right in their face.
Yeah.
But nothing.
I don't know. I mean,
crickets.
It's you got to get the right people to see the right thing at the right time, and
they're going to be too late because there's, you said, there's Big Daddy coming in now. They're going to get it right. They're going to spend. Trust me, they're going to spend the money to get it right. They are spending the money. You have the Warrior Poke guys that are doing fabulous work with streaming and getting the right personalities on air. I think there's tremendous opportunity, but that opportunity is not going to be forever.
Right.
It's not going to be an all the time thing. So it'll be interesting how it plays out. But I think you guys are the stars. I've offered solutions to how to fix that. I think the instructors, the competitors, when you make them the emphasis and you put them out in the forefront, I think good things can happen for the industry. It's just a matter of making it happen and putting it in play. I mean, that's all I can say. I think you guys are the tip of the spear in selling the business. Yeah,
I agree. And the end product is having responsible gun owners that are still buying products from the companies that are selling them, right? And if you can do that, if you can create a good demographic of consumers that are buying the right thing for the right reasons, and you can support that, then I think that's where it's at. That's where it's at.
Now, competing is a different side. We talked about your instructing. Competing is a different side of the house for you. Is it always going to be 3-gun? How do you see that playing out for you?
3-gun's tough right now, man, because it's mainly because of the ammo situation. There's a lot of with 3-gun. When I go to a match, I typically bring 5 to 6 different types of ammo, sometimes even more. So you're talking about supplying all the different types of ammo. I got short range rifle, long range rifle, birdshot, heavy birdshot, slugs, pistol. So there's at least 6 different types of ammo. And so making sure that all of those are supplied all the time. I'm, like I said, I'm fortunate to have been able to put myself in a position where I can get all of that and have
it's enough. A mission.
Yeah, it is, and it's something I'm constantly looking at. However, I see a lot more. Well, for instance, I shot a match a couple weeks ago here or in Utah, which was the first of its kind. It's a practical 2-gun match, and it was really cool because that match in particular was the first one that I've seen that has truly bridged the gap between tactical shooters, the guys who are all about the plate carry and the battle belt and
the whole shebang.
So you got the tactical shooters and the true competitors that only shoot competitively. They only shoot in 3-gun or IPSC or USPSA, and we got a true bridge there between those two because you got both sides, and the gear rules were different. The actual application of accuracy was different. The targets were different, and you saw both sides come together to have an effective competition and open the eyes of the tactical shooters. So,
and where are the cameras during all this? Where's the marketing?
There wasn't. There was a photographer out there. There's some video, I believe, but the marketing's not there, and we've got to have the companies step up to be able to do that, to where we're getting better content, better, just better information out there about these types of events, because people want to know. People want to know, where can I go to get that? Well, the first place you can go is on a practice score. PracticeScore.com is where you can start to look for matches in your area, and then you can reach out to me, of course. But
so frustrating.
It is. It's
so frustrating to me, because I think they could do a lot more with that. Now, goes forward, who knows? But at least they're trying to bring back. We'll have NRA this year, hopefully. Knock on wood.
Yeah, allegedly. It should happen. I think it'll happen.
Now, then there's SHOT Show, which both present their own things. What do you expect out of those shows? You think it'll be back to normal and people will just come, or?
I think so. I don't think it'll be as big because I think you're going to see a lot of companies that have dropped off the face of the planet. Some of them have grown, and the ones that grow through struggles is good, but.
I think people are going to rethink shows. I think there's that distinct possibility.
Well, I think when you take a year without shows, you're going to see a lot of companies that realize, oh, I don't necessarily need to put $30,000 of my budget into going to a show.
They wish 30, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. 200, 300 for some.
Depends on I'm talking about some of the smaller ones.
Yeah,
Some of those big ones, yeah, absolutely. Well, you're seeing that trend already with the big corporations that are not doing office space anymore. They're having everyone working remotely because they realize, oh, you don't have to come into an office to send an email.
Doesn't it make sense?
It does make sense. Absolutely, it makes sense. So we can restructure and repurpose those funds to create growth. And to support the people that need to be supported better.
Yeah, I just see it being, I see shows this year coming back, and I think there is still something to be said in our industry for like the feel it and touch it crowd, get your hands on. But at the same time, I think they can be making a drastic leap into the newer spaces that could be exploited a little bit more and jazz them up. But it'll be interesting. I think they missed the mark on very simple strategies that could make a lot of sense for you guys. Like how about doing a 3-gun meeting, a conference at the NSSF SHOT Show, or the NRA annual meeting. Why not? And people have the option to come in, a round table situation. I see things as like there's simple fixes that can draw people in and excite them.
I think you're going to see smaller events too that are happening.
Micros, yep.
Yeah, your micro events are huge. You got the Texas Range Day happen. I've got 4th of July Independence Range Day. I've got the Winter Training Summit where we're bringing small groups of people in for more focused training on my end. I like to bring in the smaller group and really get the value out of it. However, I think you're going to see that too on these smaller shows too, where you're going to get the celebrity side and the CEO side together into these smaller events, and that I think will see huge growth for all parties.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the micro events are the key in so many ways to not just getting and reaching the audience that you want to reach, whether that's locally inviting your local FFLs, your dealers, your instructors. So you're covering a canvas of, say, 500 miles in a loop around you, and you're canvassing that area and just opening up the doors, whether you're a manufacturer like a SIG or even a smaller brand. Bull Cortson's a good one, Scott. Do something like in a Vegas that's centrally located, partnered with other people, and fan it out. But I think there's tremendous opportunity for that. I agree. I've been a big proponent of micro events, and I think that there's much to be gained if you bring in the right people. Similar to what you guys were doing in the past with these group kind of training summits and these gatherings. I think that there's a lot to be gained there in a seminar style format, and that's what I feel there is a thirst for or a hunger for at some of the events and some of the shows. People want to interact and ask the questions. I think it's I think it's a foregone conclusion that whether I'm the NSSF or the NRA or IDPA or IPSC or any of these entities, you have to find what you do well and do more of it. And you have to develop what you're doing well. And if training, 3-gun shooting is your thing, we should be streaming that. We should be putting that content out there. You should be investing in that content because people want to be entertained first.
Right.
They want to consume something that's going to pique their interest, whether that's, hey, I didn't realize I could do this dry fire drill consistently every day and it's not going to hurt my gun, or, I didn't know this laser existed that shoots a target, you know what I mean, or whatever it is. But it has to be done. And until that's curated and done and put out there by whether it's manufacturer level or at the advocacy level,
right,
it has to be done. And I think you guys are the faces of that, but it's just a matter of getting these fucking companies to do it.
Gotta get off your ass and move.
You gotta get off your ass and move.
Well, it's I see it happening. I do content for like Recoil TV, do content for Big Daddy Unlimited, a couple other publications and whatnot, and then my own side of things, and just trying to push that out there.
Is Recoil TV still a thing?
It is for the time being. Yeah, they're still
doing that. Yep. I don't know if it's public. Whatever. Oh. I have no idea. It is now in my mind, but Recoil TV is going to cease to exist, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be Big Daddy or something, isn't it? It's going to be something.
They're working on some projects together.
Yeah. Well, I'm not getting into the Recoil TV thing because you like them, and yeah, I'm not going to get into it. But there is a gap, and if somebody gets it, Big Daddy's the right person because if they have the money and they can come in and they can fix it and bring in the right personnel to do it. I think it can be done. It can be rectified. But they're going to have to get out there. And I just believe in there's built content and there's created content. You can't produce everything. That's the thing, Joe.
Right.
It's like you have to take a step back and say, we can't produce everything in-house. There's a reason Netflix goes out and gets Friends. You know what I mean? Get something that's built, get some bona fide things, and stop trying to create shows around Friends. You know what I mean? And by friends, I mean literally people you're friends with or investors, because they're not that interesting and it's not going to be that fucking cool. It's just not. Stick to what's already built and what people know. Good instructors, good personalities, people that are already in the business. Kind of like the Warrior Poke guys to me are doing it 1.0 better. And I know I say that from a position of convenience, but a whole level better, like a car length better, because they're actually looking at what's already established around the industry. And I think that that's incredibly important, is that recognition, not trying to build it completely from scratch like a game show.
Yeah.
I digress. That's my story, and I'm sticking to. But I do think you'd get a lot of companies if the idea was viable, no matter what it was, to come behind it and to support it and to build it. But there's a lot of opportunities. You got to write a book. I could see you writing a book.
I've seriously considered it. It's just a time management thing at this point. Finally getting some time to do other projects other than just being on the range all the time, which, don't get me wrong, I freaking love being on the range. However, working on the other side of the business side, like working on the business has been a I've been doing the training side for, I don't know, 6-7 years now, and then full time for like 3. But actually rotating that into how do we actually impact more people is a goal of mine. You know?
Reach more. The more you can reach
more. And then I'm doing a lot more like the instructor training. So actually training the people who are out there training, and that's important to me, because now I know that the stuff that I'm putting out there is reaching even more people.
That's a real niche.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yep.
They call them the trainers that teach the trainers, or the trainers that train the trainers.
Exactly.
That's a whole thing. It's a whole thing in fitness.
Yeah. So that's one of my things that I'm progressing into. I've been doing that for the law enforcement military side for a little while, but I'm got some ideas coming for the civilian market, because the civilian market really needs it, because you've got so many instructors out there, and I don't like to talk crap about anybody, because everyone's got their own understanding. However, there's a lot of trash being talked or taught.
Oh God!
Right? Like there's just, you can go on Instagram and find the people that are teaching stuff that's like, that's going to get somebody killed. It's
entertaining versus educating.
Mm-hmm.
It's really what it is. And you have to understand, when you call yourself an educator, you sign almost like a responsibility oath with yourself. Like, I'm going to be responsible for what I put out there, and look, it's not to say you can't do fun stuff.
Absolutely.
You could do fun stuff, but you kind of make a blood oath with your audience that you're going to put consumable media out there, at the same time make it more about the education than the entertainment. It doesn't mean you can't do entertaining things. And I've seen guys get roasted for doing something entertaining on a page that they otherwise are always educational. And they're like, dude, it was a joke. I was joking, like, haha,
Well, and that, I feel like that's not even that big of a deal. But I see the issue is when you have people that are taking it as this is education, but what they're teaching is going to get somebody killed, because it's
100%.
Just garbage. You get people body biomechanics on how to bend somebody's thumb backwards, and this will get them to defeat the grip. And like, no, you're just gonna die.
Did you see the gun removal?
Yes,
technique guy. That guy's a riot.
It's that guy. That's
deadly.
The most recent one. Then you got like go back to a few years to Voda and stuff like that. Like,
Voda.
I haven't seen.
I miss Voda. Oh, who was it that used to absolutely destroy him?
Everybody absolutely destroyed him.
But
there were a few people that defended him, and then you see where they.
Yeah, but those guys, they're not even remotely. Am I saying the wrong thing? They're not even remotely legit. Is that wrong to say? Like that, they can't be.
They have a following.
Can't be.
That gun removal guy, he's got like 2 million followers on TikTok.
Oh my god!
Or something like that, and he's blown up.
He's Mr. McDojo. Rob, I know you're listening.
Yeah.
He's Mr. McDojo life.
He is.
Oh my god!
And the funny thing is the content that comes from that is just priceless. Like you can't pay somebody to do that with such a straight face unless they actually believe in it, and he believes in it. And that's the funniest part of the whole thing.
Oh my god! To anybody listening that hasn't checked it out, he's like the guy that teaches you how to remove a gun. Listen, to everybody listening, I don't have to tell you this. Don't try and remove the gun from somebody when you're in a hold up.
If somebody's got a gun to your face, you trying to step out of the way and grab it is probably not
you'll lose a quarter of your face, more than likely. It's not
you need that quarter.
Yeah, it's not a great scenario to suddenly think you're a ninja. And even if you've trained that for thousands of hours, don't do it.
Yeah,
that's my advice. Hand them your wallet and move on. Live to fight another day. It's fucking I didn't think anybody took that stuff serious. But I get what you're saying. I totally. But there is something to be said about teaching to the bottom of the pyramid. And I know about a lot of the old beefs in the instructor world and in that industry. And everybody's going to always teach their own way and have their hybrid, I know Tony's thing is, the whole your heart rate being through the roof and fitness composed into that. And I know everybody has a different spin they like to do on it. Pat McNamara believes in being very capable, in the fight and understanding all that. I mean, I get it. Everybody's going to have their different style. I think what people should look for in an instructor and what they should look for in content that's instructing or educational is this something I can reasonably put into my repertoire, to my reps? And can I incorporate this? And is it meaningful to my training? I had a friend once say to me, I want to carry a gun, but I can only carry it in a holster at 3:00 because of this or that. I'm like, so carry it there. Okay. Exactly. But train on it. Know where you are. Like the amount of women, for example, that say, I bag carry. Well, do you practice out of your bag? How many show up at the range and say, I'm going to practice this out of the concealment of my bag. So train practical and find practical ways to train.
And there's value in having other points of view. Like that's why I still go and take classes. Like, as an instructor, I want to go and surround myself with other instructors. And I came out here last week to go shoot with Mike out in California. Yesterday I was doing dry fire with the Gap Man, right? And I like to surround myself with other good shooters and other people that have different points of view and have those conversations. So like, you teach it this way, but I teach it this way. Like, why? What is the difference there? And I'm not so set in my ways. Like I experiment with a lot of different things to try to figure out what's the best way.
Wrinkle.
And then there's so many times that like it just doesn't matter. Like, you're doing it this way, I do it this way. It doesn't matter because the end effect is the same. And I'm just not one to get butt hurt over you teaching it that way. Like, I stay out of I stay so far away from the drama as much as possible. Like, I don't want to deal with any beef or anything like that. Like, if you have a problem with me, come tell me.
Yeah, there's certain absolutes. We get it in training, right? There's the always, always, always rules. There's certain absolutes. Yep. But you have people that, hey, this works better for me. I mean, you learn that in no better sport than in jiu-jitsu. So if you haven't gone and done it,
exactly.
There's other ways of doing things and being accepting of that as long as it fits in the framework of what you're trying to educate. And I think people need to understand in the shooting world, when you interpret anything that's educational or data or anything somebody's presenting to you, you have to remember the end game of it is a terminal one. It's a different end game. So the training is going to involve some certain absolutes, some certain alwayses, which, I know people struggle with. Well, I want to do it this way. Are there people that are unsafe out there instructing? Absolutely.
Yes.
Are there methodologies that are unsafe? Absolutely. Is it important I would hope, I think we both hope, that people can see through that a little bit and understand.
And for the most part, they do.
You've educated me that there's otherwise, but I hope. But you're right. There are people that build these followings, and I refer to them around the industry as false gods. Yep. There's a lot of false gods out there. I'm constantly saying, guys, stop putting that person on the pedestal. Like I've said before, I think we lose the gun battle for 100 reasons, and it starts with no other bigger point than who we anoint and who we place at the forefront of the conversation and who is the thought leaders of the industry and who really actually came from this industry and who didn't, who actually really has trigger time or who, understands, I got 10,000, no bigger selling point to me than saying, hey, look, I train for this. This is my profession. I have 10,000 rounds a month downrange.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
Yeah.
Sold.
Right.
Sign me up.
Well, and I ran into that a few years ago. I was approached by HBO Real Sports with Brian Gumble. I think that's his
Shout
name.
out to Brian Gumble.
Yeah. Bryant. Yeah, Bryant. I think it's
Bryant Gumbel.
So they reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're doing this piece on AR-15s, and we need somebody to talk about like the modern sporting rifle, the whole argument here." And I was immediately like, "Well, I don't really want to do that." Like
Right.
I know what their whole mindset is behind that show and what they're trying to do with. And then I took a second step and a second look at it. I'm like, you know what? If I don't, who's going to be the foreperson for the gun ownership side? I'm like, they could go out and grab anybody. So I did it. I'd spent an entire day with them, took them hunting, and then took them out on the range for 4 hours. And he interviewed me for 3.5 hours straight on camera, and they used 15 seconds of that interview. And I'm like, and it was like being cross-examined by a defense attorney.
And that's one of the things that I don't understand about this industry, where we benefit the most from something like this, a raw conversational format. We benefit the most from this type of format because we're able to add context to the things that we're saying. Yet it took us so long to get here, and it takes us so long to open up the dialogue. And I've had so many people message me and say, I didn't realize this or that person was pro-gun or whatever, you had them on your show. We don't do a great job of being this all-inclusive thing. You go to the mats and train MMA, anything, everybody, so come on down. Part of it is we have this very closed culture, and it leads to some people formulating not just the opinions that they have, but the attitudes they have towards the sport. They get very defensive when they question, or they think we're all redneck hicks, or they think whatever they think.
Right.
And they don't realize that all we're trying to do is lend context to a conversation, have open and honest dialogue. You want to talk about it? I'll spend 3 hours talking with you about it.
Exactly.
But then mainstream media is going to take that and boil that down to, like you said, a 15-minute clip, 15 seconds, snippet, sound bites. I personally see it more as a benefit to getting, sorry, I have weird action going on in front of me, but I'm okay now. I see it more as, this is the format we need to live and breathe on as far as explaining our case. Photos don't do us justice.
Right.
Okay. On social media, when we post a picture with a gun, people all of a sudden think, oh, Joe, he's crazy. This is going on. It's the boogaloo. It's this. It's,
my God.
We've heard it all. But I just think we handicap ourselves before we get out of the gate, and that's part of our own struggle. We can't get out of our own way.
Well, I think one thing that people can do is start to engage in conversation rather than shut it down. And that's so crucial, to have the ability to take a step back from being super defensive and just say, okay, so explain to me why it is that you don't like guns. Tell me. And then not interrupt them and stop them, shut them down, but like, okay, cool. So can I have a second and engage that conversation? And yeah, I would love to be on some of the other shows that are not necessarily gun related,
right?
But to be able to have the ability to engage in those conversations.
And the mistake we've made in the past is the minute the person says clip or this, we're like, that's not a clip.
Yeah.
So like we're too.
It's not the technical side.
It's not the technical side. That comes later.
Yep.
That comes later. Like, you don't. Wait, let me give everybody a piece of advice. Let me give all the Twitter weirdos a piece of advice, which is, I'm referring to you people in the gun industry that comment that shit. Your finger's on the trigger. Start to use some common sense. Inject common sense into it. Is it a photo shoot? Is it a staged photo? Then shut the fuck up. Yeah. Maybe they were killing a squirrel.
Yeah.
Who cares? Okay. Stop searching for the literal. And start to boil it down to, let's first welcome. Hey, we'd love to. Have you ever been shooting? No.
Well, I've made some of my best, my greatest connections through just offer. Hey, instead of like interjecting my opinion on a post, I'd be like, hey, I've got something. Would you be willing, or can I give you a tip? Like, just asking, and send it to him in a DM instead of like blasting him on their freaking comment section. And I'll tell you what, man, that's a whole analogy that you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
100%.
It's 100% true. Just be freaking kind to people, dude.
It's crazy that's coming from my face. It's fucking it blows my mind that I'm the one that has to explain that to be. But I guess God's funny, man. He works in a mysterious way. I agree with you. I think it's just that simple, and getting to that point. Like, look, to everybody that's worried about being canceled, we're already canceled based on the business we're in. So, just embrace it. And if you're out there and you are a supporter of the industry, developing your whys, or like what you enjoy about it, and understanding that, being able to articulate that just in a simple way. Hey, why somebody comes to you, oh, I can't believe you're a gun owner, you son of a bitch, say, why do you feel that way? Get into the dialogue with them. And more often than not, you're going to find, shocker, a lack of education on that side of the street. They don't really understand it. They don't get it. Just like the amount of people that went to go buy firearms in California during the COVID deal. They didn't realize there was a wait period, Joe. They didn't realize all these things going on. They're like, wait, this is happening?
Yeah, because you voted it in.
There you go. The perfect answer.
Because it is a lack of education. But you're not going to be able to educate without creating dialogue.
Creating framing the conversation in a way that you create a respect pattern.
Exactly.
I respect your opinion. Tell me why you feel that way, and I'll tell you why I feel my way. I will be the first to say, and I know some people might feel, not everybody has to be a gun owner.
Right.
But it's your right.
100%.
Not everybody has to be, but it's your right.
No, you hit the nail on the head with that one. Absolutely.
And there will absolutely be people that
I've told people that I was on a flight the other day with somebody, and they were a couple that they were teachers, and they are not gun friendly. And when they asked me what I did, and I'm like, oh, well,
chatty.
I'm like, okay, so I totally respect that. And they're like, yeah, well, we wouldn't be on the end of the spectrum that would want to own a gun. I'm like, that's fine. You don't have to own a gun. That's not an issue, okay, until you have somebody breaking into your house and you need a gun. But at the same time, like it doesn't. You don't have to yell at somebody for not wanting to own a gun.
A simplest way to frame the argument, in my opinion, this is a good conversation actually. A simple way to frame the conversation is to say, what right do you care about? Right. You're a teacher, so you care about maybe free speech, right? That's important to you. You want to be able to teach the curriculum. You want to be able to speak freely. Free speech has to be important to you, right? On some level. We can make a joke here, but I'm not going to. But it has to be on some level. So if it is, what if I took that away?
Yeah.
What if that was gone tomorrow?
That you weren't allowed to say this, or this, and you had to say this.
Mm-hmm. Right. Forget about threepers and you need the first to have the second. You need the second to have the first.
Yeah.
Forget about all that. But just tell me what you care about. Maybe it's abortion, okay? Maybe it's, the right to choose. Simple, starting with, okay, I respect that you have that right, and that's how you want to exercise, and that's a right you may want to exercise, but I care about this. And reframing them to understand where you're coming from. Take the conversation and reframe it.
Yep.
And that's something.
That's a simple sales strategy.
It's a simple life strategy. Just reframe it a little bit. But I think a lot of that is very hard for people to do. And I think it's very hard for people to see past, this person might not be that educated in this. You don't expect to go on the range or on the mats or anywhere, and day one everybody's going to know how to hit a Kimura or Americana or be on the range, and everybody's going to understand how to do a bill drill.
Well, I mean, a perfect example of the lack of education, and people that are genuinely trying to get education and they're hindered because of the people that are around them, is like the videos you see of somebody going up there with a shotgun, taking the shot, and the shotgun goes flying back, and that gets reposted a million times because everyone thinks it's hilarious, and oh my God, how could she be, like, how stupid could she be? Well, here's the problem. Who gave her that shotgun and told her that this was a good idea?
Well, and that gets to a different topic, which I see a lot of people out there that they're not instructors, but they're getting a little spoofy, a little too spoofy for my liking, and they open themselves up to being bad representatives of, choosing my words carefully because these people aren't here to defend themselves, bad representatives of a genre. And that can be very dangerous, okay? People do need to have some understanding of whatever weapon system that they're using. And I think it becomes dangerous when, something like that becomes the calling card of an industry.
Right.
It's one thing if it's funny, guys. It's another thing when people do take it seriously or say, like, I want to go to the range and recreate that experience in some way, shape, or form. We hope that they don't. Full disclosure. We hope that they don't, because there's stupid people in everything.
Yes, there are.
Sometimes those stupid people. The Tannerite videos are some really stupid people.
Yes.
There's a lot of that. I get it. So you have to be smart. And look, it takes a person sometimes in the comment section too, Joe, to just be like, hey man, I think he meant this as a joke, or this is an example of an accident, just put it out there. This is an example of an accident. They probably shouldn't have done this, or somebody should have taught them how to grip, whatever. There's ways of correcting that. Whether or not the industry will be mature enough and ever do it, it's another story.
It's highly unlikely, but
highly unlikely.
One can wish.
We digress.
One person at a time, maybe.
How many classes are you teaching this summer?
This summer, I'm actually kind of sparse on classes. I'm kind of doing a few matches and focusing a lot on content creation for some online courses that I'm doing. So, and doing a little bit more travel. But got I think 4 or 5. Next weekend I'll be up in Wisconsin.
That's a good amount though.
Yeah.
Because you really can't teach in July.
Oh yeah, I can. It's miserable, miserable as hell, but I still do. I'll be teaching in Washington State.
You can do that.
Yeah.
In July, you can't do Florida or Vegas or Vegas would be burned alive.
Florida, you drown.
Yeah, no oxygen, humidity.
Yep, it's miserable.
Yeah, it's bad. Now that's a decent enough amount of classes. Now you'll compete.
Yep.
And then we roll right into NRA. So it's gonna be a bumpy ride all the way in. We'll see.
When is NRA again?
October.
Oh man,
it's October.
I don't think I'm going to that.
No, I told you. I
had something come up over that weekend. I don't remember what it was, but it's something.
I'm not super sold on the shows. I'm not super sold.
They're still going to happen. There will always be a place for them. I don't think maybe they'll get back to the size they were, but we'll see. Maybe.
Now, last question. What when you walk around these shows, or when in the past, I want to ask you, and I know I ask a lot of people, are there any brands you look at that you admire that you're like, geez, I like what that brand's doing? Have you seen any out there? Especially through COVID.
So, I mean, there's brands.
Not necessarily, could be soft goods, could be bags. It could be Advanced Warrior Solutions. It could be.
Now that we got that locked into place.
We got that locked in.
No, there's brands that are doing good things. Honestly, I pay attention to a few of them, but not a lot.
I want to get Joe out in a thermal hunt. Joe the Hunter.
Do some Pulsar stuff.
Pulsar. No, there's some intriguing brands out there. I think soft goods has grown the most and become one of the more intriguing sides. I've taken a liking to rimfire rifles. I'm trying to see, this is a good question to get deep with you, but I can't. I'm trying to think what would appeal to you that I've seen. I'm really interested in seeing who jumps into the thermal and IR game as time goes.
You're seeing technology improve and come down in price. You're going to see a lot more people doing it.
And I know a couple brands, and I know brands you work with that's going to be intriguing as we see other brands jump in. So I think that space for the next 5 years is going to be an aggressive space. Mm-hmm. You're seeing stuff come down in price, more competitive. As it does, they want to appeal to the larger market. And see where it goes. But I think that there's a lot there. So I think that IR, this just came to me because I've been high on soft goods for a long time. For a long time, I've said clothing and soft goods has been the space. But I think the next 5 years, whether it's IR, technology, infrared, and thermal, will probably be the two spaces that I would say.
You're going to see a lot more common threads with that. Not just the Pulsar or some of the FLIR or any of those big companies that are dedicated to that, but you're going to see optics companies, your Vortexes, your Leupolds, your normal optics companies that you look for your red dot. You're going to see them starting to come out with those types of products that are reachable for your average shooter. And I think that's exciting because I think most shooters look at a FLIR optic and oh my God, or a Pulsar. I'm like, Jesus, how can I ever get to that? And then it's just unattainable for a lot of people. But you're already seeing that with suppressors, right?
That's a great example.
5 years ago, suppressors were one of those things that, oh my gosh, I would love to have a suppressor someday. And now it's so mainstream that, I'll teach a rifle class and half the people there are.
Well, jeans is the big one too. 5 years ago, it was impossible to find, and I'm using air quotes, guys, please, tactical jeans. Yeah, you know what I mean? But there was for a while, that was one player, maybe two in the game.
Yeah.
Now you see everybody coming out. It's like the women's leggings. Now everybody, okay, we're all in. But I think this will be the first manufactured product. I'm trying to choose my words carefully because so much of it's not manufactured here, but manufactured product that is going to be, there's going to be a shift. And I know of one or two very large optics companies that aren't in the space, that will be getting in the space, and competition breeds price correction and a lot of other things.
Absolutely.
So, I think that's the space the next 5 years for sure. It's good. I hadn't shifted gears from soft goods in a while, but I'm going to go with that prediction. You heard it here first. Head over to MyBookie. And
there we go.
You heard it here first.
MyBookie.
Head over to MyBookie
for your bets on Pulsar.
and go check it out. Go check it out. Listen, it's been an hour and 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Has it really already? Good.
Yeah, it flies. This is how we work.
We have a good time though.
We do every time. Now, I thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time. It means a lot. And you're always welcome every time you're in town. Love to have you.
It's always a good time to jump in here and play with.
You like the studio, the new studio?
Yeah, the new studio is awesome, man. You got my target up on the wall. Mm-hmm. We've got cool things hanging on the walls all the way around us. We got donuts. We got
got it all.
Whiskey rifles behind. I mean,
you love the whiskey rifle.
The whiskey rifle is awesome.
Cheese. We got cheese. So
gotta love it.
Listen, I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate you taking the time, and thank you.
Absolutely, brother.
It means a lot.
Thanks for having me on.
Anytime, all the time. Be back out here for. Hopefully, I'll see you before shot.
Yeah,
I hope.
Sure.
Well, listen. I want to thank all the sponsors. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. Go check out a complete list of the sponsors there. I want to thank a few of them now. Gallo Technologies, Rhino Metals, Pulsar Thermal Imaging Technology, and CAA Gear Up USA, Blackwater Ammunition, Inforce Weapon Lights, Volt Quartz, and Galco Leather Holsters. Advanced Warrior Solutions. And let's thank, we gave a thanks to Microtech last time. I know you have some brands too. Shout out your brands.
So I shoot for Vortex. We got Big Daddy Unlimited. Actually, one of my biggest ones is Atlas Gunworks. If you want the
beautiful
top of the line handguns, that is where you're going to find it there, and I'll get you a link for them as well.
Ferraris.
The Ferrari of the handgun.
It really is.
They're outstanding.
If you want to spend some serious ching, but get something that's a beautiful piece,
and it just runs lights out.
Yeah, go check them out.
And then, of course, my biggest sponsor is myself. With the firearms training, farewellfirearms.com. That's where you can find me, my social media, and the dryfiremastery.com is the new one that I've just recently launched. So if you want to get into the dry fire game and get a set schedule along with the reasons why we do certain things in dry fire and how I've developed that process of training for myself, check.
How much is that?
$97 in
beautiful
30-day program.
Give me the link. We'll put the link down below.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, we'll do that. Listen, I appreciate it. And no, thank you to everybody in the chat too, by the way. And I appreciate the super chats and everybody else who chimed in. I'm glad you're enjoying these streams. Shout out to Ryan for saying that. Thank you guys. Appreciate everyone. And we are going to be out.
Deuces.